Welcome to the Syndication Closer with Dugan Kelly. We all know that navigating the legal complexities of real estate syndication can be overwhelming. In each episode, we'll provide expert legal analysis, tips, and strategies to help real estate syndicators stay compliant and avoid pitfalls. This show is for anyone involved in real estate syndication, including sponsors, investors, attorneys, and other industry professionals who want to stay up to date on the latest legal developments and best practices.
This is the Syndication Closers. We're here with Dugan Kelly, Principal Partner for Kelley Clark PC. Dugan, in our last episode, we were talking about what is security and kind of defining that through the Howey test and how to do all of this legally, especially, the offering of securities, raising of money. Let's say, as just pretending for a moment that I am a prospective client that has come through your doors, is trying to raise money, and I've raised $1.5 million. And I want to up my game, and I want to raise even more money from more people out there. Now what do I do?
Awesome. So I thank you, James, for that question. That's great. So imagine you're James. Imagine that you're working very hard as a W-2 employee in corporate America. You're trying to figure out, how can I get out of corporate America? I've heard about this awesome thing called syndication, how to generate passive income from the owning and operating of real estate investments. And you've identified an apartment building. That apartment building the purchase price for the apartment building was $3 million. And James is looking through his Rolodex, he thinks that he theoretically has friends and family that would theoretically invest with him of $1.5 million, right? So how does he raise both that $1.5 million from his friends and family, and then also potentially other people that maybe he doesn't know, right? So first and foremost, after we engage and we negotiate the purchase and sale agreement, after you get your property under contract, and James has walked it, he's inspected it, he's identified what the capital expenditures of the rehabilitation budget's going to look like. He's done that underwriting process, and he's ready to go move forward. What we really do is we create an entity, and that entity is typically a limited liability company or a limited partnership entity. And James is going to provide a business plan to us. That business plan is going to basically discuss what the potential returns are going to be, what the terms to potential investors are going to be, whether it's going to be a 70% to investors, 30% to James, and 80% to investors, 20% to James, whether he's going to offer a preferred return or not. All of those types of business terms, along with the waterfall or plan of distribution, will be included in that private offering. Once we form that entity, we structure that private placement memorandum, right, with all of those key ingredients in there. And we essentially have to figure out, is James going to engage in what we call general solicitation, or is he going to not engage in general solicitation? So remember, just for those that may not know this, the historical rule that's been around for a long, long time was that you cannot engage in general solicitation. That means advertising, talking to somebody that you don't already have a pre-existing substantial relationship with. And why? Why would you think the SEC would want to prevent general solicitation? Well, the challenge from the government, you got to remember that the SEC is a wonderful institution that is comprised of individuals who are trying to accomplish three primary principles. One is protect investors, making sure that investors are fully informed, not just of the merits, the sex appeal, the sizzle of the transaction, but more importantly, of the risks associated with the transaction. Two, that the SEC really wants to make sure that they are advancing capital formation. Lots of people forget. They think that the SEC is just standing around trying to tell you all the things that you've done wrong, and that's not true. They're there, one, to protect investors, Two, to help promote capital formation, meaning that's what drives small business growth in the United States today. New businesses getting capital in there and starting new businesses and jobs. All of that's involved in capital formation. And number three, and that is governance of all of the various individuals, exchanges, broker dealers, individuals, entities that are involved in the sale of securities. So the SEC, from the SEC's perspective, they want to accomplish those three goals. So when James is looking at his Rolodex and he's thinking to himself, hey, I may not have to engage in general solicitation. That's great. From the SEC's perspective, that's fine. That's the historical rule. Well, with the passage of the Jobs Act under President Obama, we had a split. And the split was we now know, with the advent of social media and this explosion of the ability of people to advertise what they're doing, their services, their products, everything, they're the more likely to advance both capital formation as well as governance over individuals in this space. The Jobs Act actually allows now general solicitation. And so what many of these offerings are, the exemption from having to register as a public offering, are many of them are under what we call Regulation D, Rule 506B or 506C of the Securities and Exchange Act. Well, the old historical rule of don't advertise, that's 506B. How are you going to remember that? I like to say 506B, B for buddies. The likelihood is if your buddies, the people that are more likely to invest in your deal, right? People that know you, like you, trust you, are more likely to be your first investors. The vast majority of syndication in the United States today takes place in the B area. Why? Because they're our buddies. They're going to invest with us first. So if James is like most people, he will likely probably be doing a private offering in 506B. Now, what are the differences, right? What's the differences between a 506B, the historical way in which people raise capital and through the PPM, and what's the difference between a 506C, which is the new way, right? Well, there's a couple very key distinctions. First and foremost is the role of advertising, right? Remember, James he's got this apartment building, $3 million purchase price. He thinks that he can raise $1.5 million. Well, obviously there's going to be some debt, right? He's going to go find a lender. That lender theoretically is going to tell him how much they're willing to provide a loan to him. The difference between what they're willing to loan and what he has to bring to the table to close, that's the equity component. That's what he actually has to raise. So if James has a $3 million apartment building, he's able to raise $1.5 million from his friends and family. 506B is great because the likelihood is he'll get more than 50% leverage, meaning there's a lender out there that's willing to give him more than 50%, 60%, 65%. Those are very common right now in the space. Sometimes deals you can be 75, 80%, 85%. But you want to be conservative, especially if you're starting out. You want to be sure that you can implement successfully your business plan. But let's say that he struggles, right? So he struggles and he starts to think to himself, well, man, what if I had done a 506C, right? Because now I know I'm tapped out. I've only been able, instead of $1.5 million, let's say he was only able to raise $500,000 from his friends and family. And now he's thinking to himself, man, I wish that I would have done a 506C because then I might have been able to engage in this general solicitation. So what is James forced to do? Well, remember those key distinctions, right, between 506B and 506C. Well, the first and foremost is 506C allows you to advertise and 506B doesn't. Well, that we know that distinction. What are the other distinctions? Well, the primary one that a lot of people focus in on is in the 506B space, individuals are able to self-certify on that suitability component via a questionnaire, meaning when we ask the question whether this is a suitable investment for your potential investor, and they are presented a questionnaire to identify whether they are an accredited investor or whether they are somebody that by life experience or overall level of sophistication, they fall into what the SEC calls a sophisticated investor. These are people that would be able to otherwise invest regardless of whether they actually meet the accredited investor definition. And you're allowed on a 506B offering up to 35 of those types of individuals. On a 506C offering, the SEC says we're not going to allow you to have people that are not accredited investors if we're going to allow you to advertise. So you might be thinking to yourself, why? Why would the SEC allow me, on the one hand, on a 506B offering, to have up to 35 sophisticated investors, and then on the other hand, on a 506C offering, where now I can legally advertise, but I still want my friends and my family or people that I know me to be able to invest. Well, think about it from the SEC's perspective. Remember, investor protectionism. The likelihood is if you're advertising, you're more likely to push out comments or your solicitation to people that you don't know. And if you don't know them, then more likely than not, there's a concern from the SEC's perspective about whether you're being truly truthful about all of the risks and the merits associated with the transaction. But more importantly, is the potential investor more likely to tell you all of the warts or their financial difficulties or their inability to be able to afford the minimum investment or invest into the deal, right? With friends and family, they know us, we know them, right? We can self-certify via questionnaire because we have a pre-existing substantial relationship. That's not solicitation. The SEC says talking to people that you have that pre-existing relationship with is not solicitation. But if you're going to advertise, they want you to have to undergo what they call diligent steps to independently verify the accredited status of each of your investors. And that might entail you asking very difficult questions of your potential investors about how wealthy they are, whether they meet the net worth or liquidity requirements, actually making them show you documentation to be able to demonstrate that, or asking them to go get a letter from their CPA, their lawyer, or their registered broker-dealer attesting to the fact that they are an accredited investor, or having them outsource and sending them to a third-party vendor that will require them to upload their financial information and documents so that you can actually do those due diligence steps. So that is in large part one of the key distinctions that prevents, I think, in my opinion, a lot of people from doing 506C offerings to 506B offerings, is because you're essentially asking that individual to essentially show you, prove that you really are an accredited investor, as opposed to your friends and your family. You can trust what they say and you don't have to independently verify that. But on the 506C offering, they want you to be able to do that. So those are a couple of the key distinctions, James, that in your hypothetical, let's say you found that apartment building that you've got the people. And so what's James to do? If James gets, in our hypothetical, he gets stopped. Let's say he stalls out. He's got his private offering. He's cooking along. He's got some friends and family that have invested with him, and he stalls out around $500,000. Well, he still needs to raise $1 million. Well, the SEC has recently, within the last couple of years, allowed the ability to convert from a 506B to a 506C. Now, you don't convert from a 506C to a 506B, right? You can't engage in general solicitation and then go back into the historical rule of not engaging in solicitation. But think about it. It makes sense, right? If you're if you're doing a 506B and you say, I want to close this portion of the offering, we close it down, we register it with the Securities and Exchange Commission by providing them notice of what you've done. We pay what's called a blue sky filing fee in the states in which your investors live and reside. And then we relaunch your offering under a 506C exemption, which allows you to engage in general solicitation. Now, that prevents James from taking in any new sophisticated investors that don't meet the accredited definition, but it allows him to engage compliantly and legally in the ability to raise money through the use of solicitation. Now, that always, whether you're a B or a C, you need to tell the truth. Transparently, honestly, openly, you need to tell the truth, not just of the great things that you like in your potential transaction, but also the warts, right? Or the hair on the deal. You got to be able to accurately, transparently, and openly to tell your investors what risks are associated in the transaction. But that conversion from a 506B to a 506C is one way in which James, who's stalled out on his raise, is able to engage in general solicitation. Now, words of caution for all of you out there that are thinking to yourself, I'm just going to blow this out with Facebook and my 3,000 BFFs that live in there. Your BFFs on Facebook, that is not someone that the SEC likely is going to say that you have a pre-existing substantial relationship with all those people. And two, I have not, and this may be just me, but I have not in the last 20 years of practice seen large conversions of stranger potential investors into actual investors through the use of social media advertising or general solicitation. So you want to be careful, very thoughtful about how you are putting together your business plan and how you intend to convert potential investors into actual investors. And just understand that cracking that nut, so to speak, that advertising or social media or solicitation nut, that's going to take some time. It's not overnight. And so, and then the fact is that when you do a conversion of a B to a C, there's increased administrative costs, right? Increased costs of having to do essentially two offerings to close one down and then relaunch. So there are some hurdles, both administratively, economically, and resource driven that you have to think through. But it certainly is thoughts to ponder, and it allows James and anyone out there that's like a James that's thinking about how can I get across the finish line? And that's just one way in which we as your legal team think about how to get you from acceptance of your LOI all the way to the closing table, right? Because there's no benefit if the deal falls apart at the 11th hour. We want to get you all the way to the closing table. So, James, that's a long road, but that tells you kind of like how there's the ability for you to be able to get to the end of the road and actually successfully close your hypothetical deal.
And speaking of road, Kelley Clark PC has a special series that we're offering to those who visit syndicationcloser.com. It's called the Road to Ownership series. It'll provide you with an overview of the 10-step proprietary system, a 10-part video series where we walk with you down that road to ownership step by step, and the exact help that syndicators need to get past the 10 major roadblocks to closing the deal. To get instant access to this, you can click the link in the show description or just log on to syndicationcloser.com. That is syndicationcloser.com. That's the Road to Ownership from Kelley Clark PC. Coming up in our next episode, we'll be talking more about accredited, sophisticated investors, the difference between the two, and also touching on fund of funds. That's an interesting topic. Much more coming up in the next episode of the Syndication Closers.
Thanks for listening to the Syndication Closer with Dugan Kelly. Follow us on social media and visit our website, syndicationcloser.com, so you don't miss an episode. Just click the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed this episode, let us know by leaving us a review. We'll see you next time.